all-new Mazda 6e, and today we're driving it on Australian roads for the very first time. If this is your first look at Mazda's next EV, I'd love to give you the full rundown, but unfortunately we really don't have time for formalities today. Instead, you can watch Fian's very detailed video of this exact car by clicking on the screen somewhere probably up there. Anyway, Mazda didn't want him driving it, so they brought me here today. All right, let's go. If I can get out of this frunk. Okay, I will touch on a few formalities. This is a battery electric sedan due in Australia in mid-2026, and it's Mazda's second attempt at an EV, but it's also a spiritual successor to the Mazda 6, which was discontinued earlier this year. But Mazda didn't build this car alone. In fact, kind of didn't really build it at all, but details, don't worry about those. This was built alongside its partner Changan, which is the brand that brought us the weird and wonderful Deepal, which you might have seen in Australia already with that E07 multi-truck that's part ute, part SUV, part whatever else it is. I will also point out that this particular vehicle was shipped over from Germany, so it's a European-spec vehicle, and it's got a little bit of different running gear in it compared to what the vehicles that we'll get in Australia will have. But it has the same suspension tune and pretty much all the same stuff that we'll get in Australia. So this is, again, it's not exactly representative of what we'll get, but it is very close. Unfortunately, a corrupt SD card wiped out a good chunk of the driving footage that was supposed to be in this video. I know, I'm just as mad about it as you. Anyway, what I said was, the 6e is a bit of a mixed bag. Moving off, it's as silent and smooth as just about any EV, and while acceleration isn't exactly brisk enough to shove you back in your seat, the 6e certainly doesn't feel underpowered. The high-speed banked oval at the Lang Lang Proving Ground showcased what could be the electric sedan's best asset, its outstanding stability at warp speed. We pushed it all the way to 170 kilometers an hour, speeds you'd never legally reach in Australia, but absolutely Autobahn territory, and the 6e felt incredibly calm and confident, rather hushed inside the cabin too. On a road loop designed to simulate high-speed country driving, the EV's ride errs on firm, but the passive suspension still offers enough compliance to take the edge off sharper hits. The trade-off is it can bring a disconcerting amount of lateral movement on uneven surfaces, which can leave passengers feeling unsettled, and the 6e struggles to hide its circa 2-ton mass. Steering feel and feedback also seems underdone, with a default mode that feels much too light underhand, and a firmer sport mode that only firms things up just a little bit. The brakes were also less than impressive, requiring an unnecessary amount of force before the 6e would begin slowing. Several levels of regenerative braking are offered, however there's no one-pedal driving option. Grip at least is no problem, thanks to the Michelin E-Primacy tyres on our tester, which we're told were added to the Euro-spec sedan for a comfort advantage over the Chinese version. Energy consumption was sitting just under 25 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, which is not fabulous, but to be fair, this car had been thrashed for a week or so by media. Not to mention, again, the powertrain in this car is different to what will come in Aussie cars, so take that efficiency figure with a grain of salt. Before we drove the 6e, one of the engineers responsible for helping tune the 6e for the European market, Alexander Fritscher, talked us through the changes made to separate this car from the Chinese market EZ-6 on which it's based. And it used cars like the Tesla Model 3 and Volkswagen ID3 and ID4 as benchmarks. The result? Fritscher says the rear subframe had to be completely rebuilt. The dampers were retuned, new bushings and larger stabilizer bars were fitted, among other things. Mazda also spent time retuning some of the driver assist aids to be less intrusive and annoying than the Chinese models. And to that we say kudos, because honestly, they barely bothered us during the drive. But if you thought you could hop out of your Mazda 6 and feel completely at home in this new EV, I'm sorry to say that there are hints inside this car that it, well, wasn't built by Mazda. The immediate giveaway inside this cabin is that massive central display, but look closer at that and the instrumentation, and Mazda's iconic, and dare I say slightly feminine font has been replaced by a more generic typeface. Only the digital speedo appears to carry over the familiar font. It's such a tiny detail, but I really think it's a missed opportunity. Surely it's just a software update.
The flush exterior door handles, meanwhile, can get in the bin as far as I'm concerned. These ones in particular are very fiddly. They pop out when the car unlocks, then retract a short time after, even when it's still unlocked. We've seen similar handles on plenty of other cars, but few in recent memory have been this annoying. Well, probably except the Leapmotor C10. In terms of visibility, the 6E isn't fantastic either. The slim windscreen and side windows, giant touchscreen and chunky rearview mirror all combine to block more of your forward view than you might like. And then there's the steering wheel. I have no idea who signed off on this thing. The issue is the shortcut and voice assist buttons at either side sit right at the edge of the 9 and 3 o'clock positions, but they're not flush, they sit slightly raised and they're very easy to press. In fact, I hit the voice assist button at least 4 times in the space of 45 minutes. The reason it's so annoying is because the assistant that pops out is like a desperate ex that keeps trying to get in contact. It just doesn't shut up.
This function does not support voice commands at the moment.
Cancel.
Then off I go.
Then off you go.
Again if you need me.
No, go away. That is so annoying. Okay, that's so annoying. It doesn't just leave you alone, the voice assist. It just goes, call me again if you need me. Off I go. Just go.
Overall, there are no major deal breakers here, just a few annoying things I think people could probably put up with if they really liked this car. Perhaps the most positive news? The boss of Mazda Australia told us the company is still fine-tuning the 6E locally. So the car you see here will actually come with improvements to the suspension, steering and brake feel by the time it arrives next year.
Well, thanks for joining us for our first drive of the new Mazda 6E. Let me know in the comments what you think about this car. Has it got enough appeal, I guess, to take on the Tesla Model 3 and the BYD Seal? Even SUVs like the Model Y and the Sea 7, which are some of the top sellers here in Australia in terms of EVs. Was this the right vehicle for Mazda to bring as their second EV? Obviously, they tried with an SUV years ago with the MX-30. That didn't sell very well, so they pulled that. Yes, there is an SUV version of this car, but it's not built for right-hand drive markets just yet, so that's off the cards as well. So this is, yeah, a sedan as their next attempt at an EV. So let me know in the comments what you think, and yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the next one.